people, it's me, Anja, my pronouns all she and her, and welcome back to my channel for my July TBR, as I eagerly wait for the release of Olivia Rodrigo's next album, which I think comes out tonight or tomorrow night, if I'm not mistaken. Anyway, I did say that I was going to film my mid-year book tag next. However, I have really no structure for that video yet, because in the past years, I would use the original tag questions, except that I've realized that half the questions aren't really relatable for me anymore. So I'm still deciding how exactly I'm going to structure that video, because I do still want to film it, since I have been reading, for example, more books in June than I expected, which is really excellent. So I have really high hopes for July. Anyway, the first book on this list is called Free Girls. This book comes out July 7th, if I'm not mistaken, and it's a YA contemporary following a Black Sapphic main character who is navigating a fresh start, as she recently spent a year in a juvenile detention center, if I'm not mistaken, because she was caught at the wrong time in the wrong place. I think this book really talks about like the systems that are meant to serve teenagers but ultimately fail them, especially when it comes to Black people. And I'm so excited to read this book because I love the exploration, and I also love the exploration of a Black queer lens. I'm so excited to read this book. I've never read anything before by this author, although I'm not quite sure whether or not this is a debut. But anyway, I'm so excited to read this book. It sounds like an awesome coming of age story, which I always love, especially with Black main characters, as a Black main character myself. Anyway, all that to say, this book comes out, I think, the first week of July, so with that, I'm really excited for it. The next book on this list is called Armor for Liars. This book is a YA fantasy that comes out July 21st, and it follows a young main character who is infiltrating a secret society of enchanters, and her new companion is one of their victims, who's now a vengeful ghost, I think. I'm so excited to read this book because, first of all, this author wrote one of my favorite trilogies, the Mapmakers trilogy, when I was in high school, and I thought the world building was so unique and so fascinating and so magical, and I'm so excited for the next book. This book sounds like it's going to be so good and so well done. I love YA fantasies with secret societies and magic and enchanting and everything. Like, this book sounds like it's going to be so good and so well done. I've heard that it technically counts as a dark academia, which is so fascinating because I love an academic setting in a fantasy setting. You know what I mean? Anyway, I'm so excited to read this book, and I'm really looking forward to it, so keep your eyes peeled for July 21st. The next book on this list also comes out July 21st, and it's called Spindlewood. This book is a middle-grade paranormal fantasy following a young main character who's joining her family's legacy at this boarding school because she's from a line of people who can all see ghosts, except that she can't, which is really interesting. And I love this concept of like not being able to live up to the expectations and the reputation that your family has, especially in a fantastical paranormal setting. And I love, as I've mentioned before, an academic fantastical school. And I'm so excited to see her like make friends possibly and have a found family. And I don't know if I want her to develop paranormal powers or not. But anyway, I'm so excited to read this book because it sounds like it's going to be so awesome and so well done. And I'm always in the mood for a middle-grade paranormal fantasy. So anyway, with that said, I'm really looking forward to this book. The next book on this list is called The Ginghams. This book comes out July 28th, and I've been told it's a middle-grade contemporary horror following a young main character who returns from summer camp to find everyone in her neighborhood acting so weird and completely the same. I've heard this book talks about like fascism and censorship and conformity, which I think are really important lessons and messages, especially for a young audience, and the ways in which you can like manipulate young people. I don't know if that makes any sense, and I don't know if I'm reaching because obviously I haven't read this book yet, but I'm so excited to read it and to find out like the mystery and the world building and everything, because it sounds so cool and so unique and so well done. I don't really read a lot of horror, frankly, but for a middle grade audience, like the concept can't be that scary since I'm like 10 years older than the targeted audience, if that makes any sense. But anyway, all that to say, I'm so excited to read this book. It comes out July 28th, and I'm really looking forward to it. The next book on this list also comes out July 28th, and it's called Evie and Her Nightmares. This book is a YA contemporary following a young autistic main character who is navigating grieving her best friend who recently committed suicide. I'm so excited to read this book because, first of all, Francesca Zappia wrote Eliza and Her Monsters, which was one of my favorite books that I read in high school, and also Made You Up, which is also so good. So basically, their depictions of mental illness, of disability, has been so good historically. I think that this is their first book since 2019, and technically I believe it's a standalone companion to Eliza and Her Monsters, so maybe like it's set in the same universe or something. Anyway, I'm so excited to read this book because, first of all, as an autistic person myself, I love to read about autistic protagonists and how they navigate the world and how it's similar or different to my own experience. Second of all, again, I'm excited for a story that focuses on grief and best friend relationships and all of that. Francesca is such a talented writer, and I know that I can trust them. So anyway, with that said, I'm so excited to read this book. And like I said, it comes out July 28th, so keep your eyes peeled. The last book on this list, and hopefully not the least, also comes out July 28th, and it's called We Will Never Heal. This book is a YA sapphic gothic horror following a young main character who's returning to this supposedly haunted manor that might have killed her best friend. And I'm so excited to read this book because, first of all, I know I just said that typically I don't really read horror books, but there's just something about a queer horror book that's so enticing to me. I don't know. Anyway, I'm so excited to read this book because it sounds like it's going to be so awesome and so well done, especially with the sapphic friends to lovers story I'm hearing about. I don't know, so many of my friends are so excited for this book, and I don't know if it's because like they know the author personally or something like that, but anyway, this book sounds like it's going to be so awesome and so well done. The cover alone is so pretty and so like haunting, but in an exciting way. I don't know if that makes any sense. Basically, I'm excited to read like a sapphic ghost story. Anyway, I'm really looking forward to this book, so there's that. So in conclusion, that's my July TBR, which I'm sure is full of books that you've never heard of, which in my opinion speaks volumes about the speed of my reading as well as the diversity of my reading. But anyway, all that to say, I hope that you really enjoyed this video, and if you did, please don't hesitate to give it a big thumbs up. Comment down below your most anticipated July releases of 2026 if you have any, or what you're reading in July, because naturally I'll be reading more in July than just these books, and I will be going to the library too, so I'll also be reading some backlisted books too. So anyway, comment down below the turtle emoji if you made it all the way to the end of the video. Thanks for watching, subscribe to my channel if you're new, and I'll see you in my next video. Bye!